These are the top 22 lessons from the year 2022 for salespeople and sales leaders, collected from Sandler trainers from around the world. We did hundreds of webinars, podcasts, interviews with clients. We did a live client summit with hundreds of people. We did a virtual summit with thousands of people, over 6,000 people came online. And these are the top 22 lessons for salespeople and sales leaders. Number one, you have to modernize your approach with hybrid selling. 2022, we saw a lot of people coming back to the office, a lot of people getting more in-person sales calls, but we have to blend those together too. So mixing technology and virtual meetings with live meetings was a struggle and a big lesson. If you haven't done that yet, now is the time. Number two, scaling sales coaching was incredibly important. If you are not investing in your sales managers and your sales managers are not coaching your salespeople, you're probably not growing as fast as you can. Number two, 21st century prospecting. It's incredibly important when doing outreach to use virtual technology, use LinkedIn, use email, using video in your prospecting. Salespeople are not prospecting the same way they were 3 years ago. That's clear. Make sure you have up-to-date prospecting best practices. Number four, keep top performers during the Great Resignation, and a lot of turnover was a huge lesson learned this year. So keeping your top performers means paying them well, keeping them happy, making sure you're supporting them with coaching and ongoing training and development, giving them opportunities to grow and continue to see your company as an investment in their future as well. Next one up, questioning strategies improve your selling. Let's face it, today, buyers can Google whatever they want to learn about your company. They don't need you to provide answers. They need you to provide interesting questions. Maybe answers to questions they can't Google, or questions that help them build consensus with their team and understand their situation a little bit better. It's extremely important to have good questions when you're in sales in 2023. Next up, starting interesting sales conversations. Sometimes that's with questions, but it's also about making it about the buyer's world. We spent a lot of time in 2022 talking about how we combine the best sales practices and processes with the buyer's journey, meeting them where they are, having really great conversations about where they are in their discovery process and what they know already, so that we can elevate that and take it to the next level. And that takes us to our next point. I think this is number 7. Diagnosing unrecognized pain was a huge topic this year. A lot of people have pain that they recognize, that they realize. The key to finding new prospects is helping them uncover and recognize maybe problems they don't know they have. That's talking about symptoms, pain indicators that could be identifiable symptoms of deeper pains that would be worth spending money on and problems fixing them. I think a lot of stuff is unknown. A lot of things in our economy are uncertain. And when we can help our buyers diagnose unrecognized pain and problems that they have, we can really help unlock more growth and more sales for us and our clients. Number 8 here, finding the right hire is incredibly important. We can really never afford to make a wrong hire, but finding the right hire is getting to be more difficult. In a tight job market in 2022 and probably into 2023, we want to make sure we have an assessment process, an interview process, an onboarding process that allows us to find, hire, and get onboarded and up to speed quickly the right hire. Next one. Selling to the modern buyer comes up again. Selling to the modern buyer is different because we're using these hybrid skills. We're working with educated buyers, and it really means meeting them where they are and learning a mutual discovery process, equal business stature, 2 adults having an open, honest conversation about the truth. That's really what selling to the modern buyer is. It's not influencing, it's not manipulating, it's not trying to educate your buyer. They're already educated. It's really about having adult conversations. Next up, most important for managers, again, it comes up with managing your sales pipeline. This got a little scary, and economic uncertainty and political uncertainty and a really challenging environment to sell means you need to manage your sales pipeline accurately so you can get accurate forecasts, so you can know who's where and who needs to be invested in your buyers, which ones are going to carry across the finish line this year or going to get pushed to next year's budget and fall off, which ones do you have the best chance of winning. All of those are great questions to talk about with your team when you're talking about managing your sales pipeline. And number 11, level up your sales coaching came up again. So we talked about scaling coaching, doing this big and wide across your environment, but also leveling up your sales coaching popped into our top 22 because we need to do better sales coaching. It's not about telling them how to do it right or what they messed up on a sales call. It's about asking questions to help them discover how they could do things better or differently. Salespeople these days are smart, they're educated, they're savvy. If they're on your team, hopefully they're selling already. What we need to do is help coach them along and unlock better skills in them, unlock their performance code. And number 12 came from our Sandler virtual summit. This was customer success and sales getting aligned to make sure you're keeping all of the clients you have. Again, in tough economic times, it's really important to make sure that we keep all of our great clients, just like we want to keep our top salespeople. So how can you align customer service and success? Make sure those handoffs are smooth, make sure we're promising what we're delivering and back and forth. So all of that is our number 12 tip. 10 more to go. We're halfway home. I hope you're taking notes. We're going to move over to our top podcast this time. We had somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people that were interested in these top topics. Out of all of the podcasts we have over 500 podcasts that have had over 2.5 million downloads. So we have a lot of data here. The number one tip here, and it comes in at number 13 for us, is how to succeed at finding unrecognized pain again. So we want to make sure that we're doing those discovery processes with our clients. Jody Williamson talked about this a couple of times this year in a webinar and in a podcast. Dive deeper into those pains. Don't just take surface level pains. Don't just sell people that are calling you. Reach out to prospects. Go find people who have unrecognized pain and help them diagnose that. And we're on to our second top podcast, was improving your personal presence. This is really about how you establish yourself and your credibility with your buyers. It's not what you think. It's not about saying how great you and your company is. It's about asking really interesting, challenging questions that prove you're credible. So rather than saying, I've worked a lot in your company, we have hundreds of clients. What I want you to do instead is say, when I worked with some of our previous clients in your situation, they were experiencing X, Y, and Z. When we do that, we prove that we have clients in the industry, we prove we have insight and knowledge, and we prove that we've done our research on our potential buyers. That's much more credible. Up next is succeeding at virtual selling. So we're getting into our last 10 tips here of the year. Virtual selling is really about getting good with Zoom, Google Meeting, whatever you're using, Teams, being able to have a discussion online, know when to share your screen, know when to stop sharing your screen, know when to maybe have an interaction or a poll, and take a second to say, hey, I've been talking here for a while. It's been about 8 minutes. Why don't you type in the comments what your number one lesson learned from 2022 is? Share it with us so that we can add your data to ours and we can all share best practices, help us level up the entire sales profession. Just a little break like that can really change your virtual meetings, is checking in with your customers and buyers and finding out where they are. Now, we've talked about customer success and aligning with sales, but it's really important to level up your customer success team as well. We've talked about how important it is to keep clients, but how are your customer success reps going deeper with your existing accounts? We call these expand accounts. Do you need to go wider into different departments in a large client? Or do you need to make sure you get more referrals and you get more introductions to other types of products that you could be selling to these existing customers? Customer success, it's much easier to upsell an existing client than it is to go find a new one. It's much easier to cross-sell to an existing client. Make sure you're looking at that going into next year as well. Now, we have a top personal tip here. And this is start a journal. Very popular this year. I think in these uncertain times, again, I found a lot of salespeople and sales leaders running out of steam at the end of the year, and they're having trouble mixing their results with the economy and their self esteem. So we may have had a great year. We may have had our best year ever, but our 401k went down, our expenses and the cost of living went up. And so even though we succeeded, we felt like we went backwards. And if we don't journal about that, if we don't talk out some of those feelings, sometimes it's really easy to get sideways. And the number one way to mess up your business is to mess up yourself. So if you're not healthy, if you're not mentally sound, if you're not doing the right things to keep yourself aligned with your business, you're going to struggle here a little bit. And so I really encourage you to keep a journal and take action on taking care of yourself. Coming down to our last 5 tips: how to succeed at making real progress. Now, this, again, as I mentioned, was really challenging this year because it may have felt like you went backwards, even if you went forwards. And when we talked about this on the podcast, we talked about how to measure our progress so that we can get forward. This is really about doing the behaviors, the right thing at the right time so that you're moving forward. You're not just answering emails and phone calls and whatever fires come up in your day. You are doing what you plan to take your business forward. So create a cookbook, figure out the ingredients that make a successful year for you, and make sure you're investing the time, money, and energy into those activities that will help you feel like and see the results of your progress throughout the year. We are at number 18, recruiting and hiring great salespeople. We've talked about keeping them, we've talked about onboarding them, but recruiting and finding and hiring great salespeople is another tough challenge. And it makes it into our top list because when it's uncertain times, when it's a weird year like 2022, it could be a great time to recruit and poach one of your competitors' top salespeople. Maybe you're hiring through acquisition. Maybe you have the resources to even just buy a competitor. But certainly, if people are happy, if they're resigning, if they're moving, there's an opportunity here to have us collect top performers. And so I think you should look at your people bank, get referrals from existing clients and existing employees, and really see if you can get in front of more great salespeople to add to your team. Now we're switching it up a little bit and going back to another personal lesson. This is about labeling emotions. It's important for salespeople. It's also important for yourself. So tip number 20 is learn how to get better at labeling emotions. What that means is when it's you're hearing a story from your buyer and they're saying that they're not getting the turnaround times that they want, that they haven't been getting the quality that you want, you need to label that emotion. It sounds like you're frustrated with these turnaround times and the supply chain from your existing provider. Is that what you're feeling? Letting them validate those emotions and put a name on it is important as well. But being able to identify those emotions is really the buying motive for your buyer. It's also important for yourself. If you're just having a bad day and you're frustrated and you're not getting it, or you feel like there's a disconnect on a sales call, it's really important to identify that in yourself. Take a step back and say, okay, maybe I can take a deep breath here. I'm afraid of making this call for some reason. Why is that? And is that reason true and valid here? Number 21, overcoming anxiety. Again, it was a stressful year. We're coming out of a pandemic. We're trying to learn how to readjust to everything. I still got sick several times this year. And I think that there's a lot of anxiety around, again, the stock market, around politics. The supply chains are still messed up. What's going on with our businesses is mostly in uncertainty. But overcoming anxiety, we can look back at several of our other tips. Label those things. Why are you feeling anxious? Journal about it. Spell that out and look at reality and talk to yourself. Give yourself some positive feedback. A bunch of other great tips on the podcast: how to succeed at overcoming anxiety. Do a quick Google search and find that one, and learn how to control your emotions and find those optimistic reasons to look at next year being better than this one past. And our final tip: Number 2022 from the year 2022 is how to succeed vocally. And we found this is really important with hybrid selling and selling virtual, that sometimes you need to match your tone and your body language to the words that you're saying. A lot of salespeople and a lot of sales training focuses on scripts. Here at Sandler, we know how you say it is just as important as what you say. And that includes telling your face that you're happy about things, that you're confident. Your tone says a lot to your buyer about whether you're interested, you're sincere, you're authentically paying attention, whether you believe this is a right purchase for them, or if you're trying to talk them into something or you're trying to get them excited and push a little bit. I hope those tips help you make the most of next year, and happy new quota, happy new year. Go out there and crush it in 2023. If you want to invest in yourself, reach out to Sandler. We have local Sandler trainings, we centers. We have an extra enterprise team that does multi-location training for you. We have a virtual summit in March of 2023. If you want to get the first quarter kicked off right, join us in Orlando, Florida. It's always nice to get to some warm weather a little bit earlier than most of the country, and have 2 days of intensive world-class training and speakers. We have some amazing guest speakers coming. Dr. Benjamin Hardy, a world-renowned doctor in psychology, that's going to talk about communication skills and how to become your future self, improve your personal performance. We also have Dre Baldwin, known as Dre All Day, a professional athlete, talking about how you apply the lessons from professional sports and the training that they do to training and improving yourself. Hint, it's not about the biceps. It's not about your bench presses. It's really about your attitude. And Martine Kalau is going to be another keynote speaker at the Sandler Summit. She will be talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, how you build a playbook for this that will get you an ROI and get you positive results in your equality efforts. It's not just about hitting quotas there. It's about how do you build your team in a way that's most powerful, that can talk to the most amount of people and get you the most sales by having a diversity of thought, opinion, of personalities and people and industries and experience and ages and everything that can build value and bring the best team to you. That's just the tip of the iceberg for all of the tips that we had this year and for the stuff that we have going on at the Sandler Summit. So follow us, share this video with somebody that you think needs to hear it, and we will see you next year. Good luck and good selling.